Video Files 10, Finding Me. I had somehow lost me, and I couldn't for the life of me work out where me had gone, and where the hell I was going to find myself again. For all I knew, me could have been kidnapped, strangled, or even murdered. I came to realise that I needed to search for me again, and I would have gone to the far corners of the world to find me if I could. So I ran. I ran away from all the problems, the points of views, misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and judgments into a world place where everything was perfect, where everything was how I once dreamed it to be, or so I thought for a while until reality hit home. Nothing in this old world is perfect. It can only be as a part of your imagination. Some would call this fantasy, but then I realised that the imagination could be used as a very powerful tool. And maybe what you imagined could be turned into reality, and therefore perfection could be created. All in my mind. I had created a haven. This is known as the dreamlike state, which once lived can become a reality. However, what we dream of may or may not become the eventual reality. Sometimes we don't have any control over the destined loves we're meant to be with. They may be friends, lovers, boyfriends, fiancés or husbands, girlfriends, wives. We have no control over the separation either. We do have a choice. Enjoy the time you spend with each one and be prepared for an ending to occur in order for you to move on into the arms of another one who will support you in the next part of the journey. Love the one you will hold close to your heart in the present and say goodbye to the ones you leave behind in the past. Let go of your past and move forwards boldly into the arms of someone who is there to take you into your future, solidly, securely, confidently, and with certainty. Be comfortable. Be comfortable being in your own skin, your own company, and being on your own until you find true companionship. Dreamlike state. This I later found out to be the world of the subconscious, a world where every choice you make could change the path you take and could make you into the person you have always wanted to be, a person that has had their own freedom away from the norm, and a person who doesn't have to stick to the regimes that everyone else who is close to them have. This is where a new life can be spun and led instead of forever being trapped in the sticky confinement of the spider web with no escape. The man who I was most closest to had the same thoughts as me at the same time, but will lead a totally different life at that particular point in time. And it will not be until their paths meet again that their lives will become one again, and they will spend the rest of their lives together happy, content, and free with themselves, oblivious and distant from anyone else's point of view and opinions on the matter for the benefit of all involved. Who this will be revealed to you in time. There will be others before, but you will know him when you see him. Trust that he will come to show the way to live the life you desire. This old tired situation I eventually had to let go of because of my past, and as soon as I had made the decision to let go, accept that the past is the past and things happened in the way it did and they were meant to be, no matter how tough times become. I saw a way forward. Before this eventual outcome was to happen, there was to be a new man awaiting ahead of me who would give me all the love I could possibly ask for. A man that would love me for me regardless of my past and all that had happened, all that I'd ran away from. Sometimes you have no control over the ones you love and the way they treat you. It could be genetic, or some might say part of their makeup. However, how they choose to behave can have a more positive impact on your life. They may or may not be someone worth holding on to. Just roll with it and let go. Live in the moment, relax and have fun. There are those there to catch us when we fall. Equally, we do the same. The true story, leaving it all behind. When you have been a part of someone's life for over 5 years, and have lived in a house that you have made your home, then it is extremely difficult to accept that the only way out of the situation that you've got yourself into is to leave. It is very hard to break away from the life you love so much and had tried so hard with the man that you loved unconditionally, with all your heart, just because of the situation and his inability to show you true feelings and share his thoughts. It's all about giving each other 100% of ourselves. Communication had ceased. When I decided to walk away from my marriage and my life, I wasn't sure of the reasons, but I knew that what I was about to do was the best decision I could have made under the circumstances, and the best I could have done at the time. I was unhappy, lost, lonely, bored, and uninspired. One of us had to make the decision, for both of us, to separate, else we would have ended up hating each other, as we had to deal with so much in such a short space of time. To have this happen to you twice beats believing, but it did happen to me. Things weren't right, 2 failed relationships, and I needed to be the one to walk away, leave and move on in both instances. I was battling with the thoughts daily of whether I should stay or go. Do I put up with it, as past generations did? The first time I walked out, I needed time to adjust to the feelings of confusion I was having in my head, and the only way I could think of doing this was to run away to talk to a complete stranger who I had only met the once, who had the decency and respect to listen to my problems, suggest reasons for why it all went so wrong, and explained how he could make things better. I started to think that the problems I was faced with could be resolved if I spent some time with this man. And I really did believe that he could restore me again. I refer to Sheer in this book, giving me a life that I so much needed. However, this relationship lasted until I could believe in myself enough to trust in myself, trust in my own gut instinct, and get through this life and the next stages on my own. I later found out that only I could deal with the issues I was being faced with. I had to be the one to leave both situations, hold my head up high, and keep on walking. I had to continue alone on my own, but this had its downfalls. Sometimes I lost my faith in myself and my own ability to persevere, to make things right. I lost direction, and throughout my down moments, I was able to reflect, adjust, gain perspective, and get myself back on track. I was lucky. I had a lot of good friends surrounding me. Some I would call my guardian angels, some my rescuers, and others my saviours. One I even referred to as my rock. She who believed completely in my writing and restored my faith every time we met. She would say, "It's only my situation that makes me feel this way," and that was enough to give me a new lease of life, to keep me going. Our belief kept us all strong. It wasn't long before I was able to continue with my life again, resting when I needed to and taking time out when my soul yearned for it. Sleep became a big key to me healing, and I made sure I gave my body this time, all the time it needed where I could. Bursting out of that bubble. At the time when you are breaking free, leaving home, flying the nest, escaping, you may find yourself entering into a life where no one knows about you or your past. A place where you could be just yourself, and a place where everyone listens and wants to know about you, offering advice to and helping you overcome this very stressful and difficult time in your life. That's a place where I felt I hadn't been for ages, a place where my body had ached for and yearned for, and a place where I wanted to spend the rest of my life in sharing it with a loving man, a man who had been my friend, stuck by my side, seen me through many stages, and witnessed the woman I had become, me the same to him, the man he had become. Sleep deprivation can cause many problems. It is important we succumb to sleep. A few friends from my past remain distant. We were a good team, but most were in my life, working together, giving each other space when needed, and like king and queens. Khan and Jay saw it through, stuck it out together, Finding me. This was a place where I didn't feel lost anymore, and a place which made me realise that me wasn't very far away. Me had just got bored and wandered off. To be quite honest, I couldn't blame me for that. She just got bored of being there for everyone, listening to their problems, giving points of views, understanding, caring, and then I'd realised that there had been no reward, getting nothing back in return, and too much giving. Some friends had let me down, not considered my feelings, and kept me away from their lives. There had been no one there for me, the missing link. I guess I just ran out of energy and steam. There had been no one listening, understanding, or supporting, given back to me in return. And with understanding being the root cause of the problems, I had lost my way in life, which led me to do the same as me and search high and low till I got me back. I wanted to be sure that once I had found me and had fully restored myself to who I wanted myself to be, I wanted to protect me so I would never, ever be lost again. This took a long while and lots of reassurance along with acceptance before me became fully restored, was safe, secure and free to roam without the harsh judgments of everyone else. After all, I was only being myself. Hadn't I given everyone else the opportunity to be who they wanted to be? And didn't I not judge them harshly? Why was it that I was the one that was not accepted? I had taken so many blows by this stage that I only had one option, to rise. This took many years and very hard to do. It requires a lot of confidence, inner strength, and the ability to break the pain threshold. I had to feel self-assured, reassured, and full of self-esteem, and by giving myself a lot of positive reinforcement, I was able to sustain myself, of being myself. This support came from others as well, new friends, work colleagues, acquaintances, believing in me, my skills, attributes and capabilities, and equally me doing the same with them. There were a lot of confusing passageways, false allegations, accusations from others that were done to protect themselves, their jobs and their livelihoods. All that I had been subjected to and my suffering were about to be rectified and justice would eventually be done in 2019. I had had enough. To admit they were in the wrong would threaten their worlds. So they attempted to ruin my life, my reputation, my world, and eventually their attempts failed. This final time that happened again in 2019, I set aside my life so I could put it all right. A walk in the park, away from it all. I have never felt as free and comfortable to talk as I did this day. And everything was easy. Everything was so perfect. This was my escapism to paradise. The sun was out, there were the blue skies, the children were playing in the park, and I remember thinking, this is how life should be. Everyone was enjoying themselves. There were no pressures to be at a certain place at any given time, and everything was going my way, the way I'd always dreamed. Communication was flowing, children were laughing, time stood still, time was fluid. Time had to pass to create evidence, my defence. This was reality on a sunny day, away from everyone's points of view, everyone's views of the situation that had presented itself in my life and I had found difficult to overcome. I guess you could say I was running away, but this day taught me many things. It wasn't a dream, and those memories still linger. It was also a cry for help, escapism into the unknown, because I was unhappy with every aspect of my life I was running away from. Deep down, I wasn't happy, and my situation wasn't making me happy either, nor did the people I was surrounded by in my old life. I was completely engulfed in a negative environment, unable to escape at all at the time unless I made the decision to leave again, on my own with a spring in my step, never to look back. Were people envious of my decision? Did some people feel their needs to do the same but couldn't? I don't know. I was past caring. I had to make the decision to leave. I defeated them, defended myself, and won all my battles, putting me in pole position. For my own reasons, to make myself happy, and to give myself an opportunity to live my life. Years on, looking back, upon reflection, I have no regrets. It was the right decision to make because a story had to be created, then told. After all, it is only a story, and stories get old, and people get bored of listening to the stories. I wanted to move on at this stage. So on the 15th of March 2019, I decided to home educate my child. I decided to live the life that I wanted to lead, and I carried on making my shop in the town where I was living. I wanted it to be successful. In fact, at that time, my life had been getting harder and harder, and life wasn't at all easy for me. It was like jumping through hoops and climbing a ladder that appeared to have no top. However, eventually, when I did reach the top of that ladder, I looked down. I could see exactly why my life had to been that way, how it had been, and I was reaching the limits. I was climbing higher than I had ever done before. I had the confidence now to go far and to reach my dreams when before I would have not believed. All that mattered to me now was the final destination. It was an easy reach and not too far to go. I knew in my heart that if I just kept on walking, I would reach those dizzy heights, and everyone who had ever doubted me would look on in amazement and understand. To achieve equilibrium. It was all meant to be so I could learn by the many lessons which were taught to me, and I could eventually see a way out, leading the way for others. Had I not gone through what I went through over the course of a decade, I would never have got to where I am now in 2013, now 2019. Rest assured, I learnt my lessons, and I learnt to fight back, defend myself, never to fight fire with fire, or indeed neither fuel the fire, but instead to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Muhammad Ali, the world-famous boxer, carries the same motto. Memories are all that matter now. When your memories of a perfect day stay with you forever, I have realised that this is what you want deep in your heart. The fact that you were with a person who had shown you this is how the life should be, didn't mean that this was the person who you should have been with at that moment in time. However, I chose this path due to my circumstances, and I chose to leave. He was my guide. However, at the time, he was the only person that I felt I could trust, and because he didn't know about me or my past, he could help. It was because of the situation that I created and found myself in these surroundings with a complete stranger who knew nothing about me and could be the person who I wanted him to be because he had listened to all that had gone wrong and could build on that, making sure that he was the person I was searching for. Through text messages and a few phone calls, he had listened to everything that had gone wrong and he had put forward his views. And again, because I wasn't strong enough to go it alone and I wanted the attention, I believed everything that he was saying. Feelings of guilt and an inability to say exactly how I was feeling to those who claimed they said they loved me and were closest to me led me to accept that this stranger had all the answers. You may be thinking that he is the one. Sheer was there for a reason. He will never be forgotten, always reminded by his purpose. No matter how wrong this perfect situation turned out to be, you become trapped again, and your problems were not resolved, but instead became someone else's problems, who was there to help and understand, because he had been a part of your life. He had not been a part of your life, and he was unable to judge and criticise because he had not been a part of the circumstances that had led you away to this walk in the park. This relationship did end, and a soulmate was lost. This was not planned, but I realised as time went on that he had been there for a reason, not a lifetime. It was sad to let go, but like I already wrote, sometimes a relationship serves its purpose in your life journey and it comes to a natural end. There is nothing that you can do about it. The past becomes the past, and you both moved on. Final. He gave you the opportunity to rediscover yourself, to find out who the real Delora was, and this walk in the park could have been with anyone, namely your husband, as that time, if you had had the time to talk rationally and had had the common sense to believe that problems had arisen and they needed to be sorted out. Although I enjoyed the company, loved being with him, and loved receiving the attention I had longed for so long, I realised that it was too soon to embark on a life with someone else. My husband and I were not firing on full 100% cylinders. We were not giving each other 100% of ourselves. We both needed to part so that we could go and find ourselves and then give 100% to other partners. She was not meant to be my lifelong partner. Calm was to come into many years. Calm was to come into life for Calm was not to come into my life for many years later, and even then it wasn't made clear who he was until my new life was about to unfold. Then Khan, who had been there for me during the last 7 years, the last stage of my old life, became constant in my life, never to part in my new life. I had to be strong, wait until the moment of his arrival, when he would make his choice to leave his current life, everything behind, and to be with me and my family. There was a lot to sort out in his life, and he was shy of talking about it all. I had to show patience, forgiveness, and unconditional love. I had to be the one who waited for him to make the decision to leave his current partner, which had already been done, and he was the mother to their firstborn and the children that followed. In the meantime, he was keeping me safe, protected, and free from exposure to any other man and the outside world. That time was to come. The moment was soon to arrive. She had brought me through the most difficult time in my life so far, and he helped me to shape into the stronger person that I am now today. But I had realised that he wasn't the one who had made me happy, and the one who had tried so hard to catch the glimpses of the real me during the first 5 years of this life. He also wasn't the one who had given me the best day of my life, the wedding. Bly did this, but for that reason, the relationship lay in tatters and wasn't meant to be. She had made me realise that the problems lay within me, and only myself had to overcome them to survive. I would unravel them. It had to be me and me alone to sort these problems out, and this made me realise that only time could allow this to happen, and that I would become strong one day. I need time to heal and to adjust to my new life. I would eventually get through this thing we call life, and I would live out the rest of my life with my dream man by my side. But this wasn't to come until years later, when I had sorted everything about my old life and I'd put the past to bed. One that complemented my hopes and dreams was this man. He mirrored my ambitions, aims in life, and he was one to give me space, time and distance for us both to grow, heal and change, evolve. Going back in the past again now to Cardiff Park with my saviour Sheer. I really thought this was the life I wished to lead, and for a few days I thought that this was the life I was going to lead. A change of scenery, people, lives interweaving right in front of my very eyes. Time away from the constraints of your present life makes you realise you have your own identity and makes you strong. It all seems so real, and yet at the same time it was like a dream that I thought would never end. Sheer had opened up my eyes to a whole new world. This life was all I ever wanted, to be free and not judged by those closest to me, and yet it seemed at that time far beyond my reach, and I wasn't entirely sure whether this really was the life I wanted to lead, or whether I was just running away from my mundane life, searching for a life streaked with perfection and love, knowing that maybe this kind of life didn't exist. And I certainly had no hope of ever finding it. I chose to seek eventually and find that this kind of life could exist. I am now living that sought-after life all the time, and I am living proof of its very existence. I am grateful that I made the choice to believe entirely in the path that I was on and never look back.